About that you could tell us that you're aiming for? I mean, there is the issue of double dipping. There is that the last 3 years of pension, your pension is based on the last 3 years.
The highest 3 years.
The highest 3 years, or is it the highest 3 years or the last 3 years?
I'm not sure. Well, obviously, the most prominent example is former Senate President Bulger went on to be president of UMass and went from what would have been a $70,000 pension to $200,000.
Here are a couple of things that, without closing the door on the ideas that I'll get from the team that's working on it, a couple of things that I think we're going to have to do and not do. Let me say, I am not interested in going from a defined benefits plan to a defined contribution plan. I understand that has been the trend in the private sector. I don't think that makes sense in the public sector. I accept that there are other views about that, but that's not what this is about. We do think that it's worth trying to tighten up some of the rules. That the pension ought to be on your actual salary and not on your perks and that sort of thing. The double dipping, although I think that means different things to different people. But there's a notion that you can
collecting your pension while you're working a second job at the Commonwealth.
Exactly, and also the pension rules are not that clear when you leave one public sector job and move to another public sector job within a different jurisdiction, and your ability to get paid by the one while you're and who picks up the cost of health care when you retire and all that sort of thing.
But it's going to address those things, even though you don't know where it's going.
Right. It's got to.
But there's something you actually have power over at all that I have to say troubled me. This is since you were here last. There was a front page story in the Globe that caused my head to want to explode. This was a story of tens of millions of dollars. They focused on 31 people from Boston, cops and firefighters, who applied for disability pensions. And the rules would have been medical approval, 72%, I think, of your salary tax-free, and then any other income you make outside, what is it called? Not cut off, but set off kind of thing. That bills went through the legislature for individual name cops and firefighters, no medical required, 100% tax-free, no set off by outside jobs, and 5 of them, I think the Globe said, 5 of them you signed. Why is anyone entitled to a special?
First of all, I'm not sure that the numbers are right, but I think what you're talking about are so-called local petitions that come up from
yes, they are.
Right, which affect local decisions and local money. If I had my druthers, they wouldn't come to the State House at all.
And so why don't you veto them? And then, you mean because under state law they have to come to the State House? But I guess my question, Governor, why is anyone ever, if someone's entitled to a disability pension under law?
Point is taken, but the place to have that argument is at the local level. It's their money, it's their decisions, it's their employees. In my view, there is entirely too much business of that nature. Totally local decisions. They have nothing to do with the state fisc. They have nothing to do with anything of a state nature that come to the State House under so-called home rule petitions. And this is a set of reforms that we're also working on.
Meaning this could be covered in this thing you're talking about.
Exactly.
To be filed
but you're saying the reason you signed these ones is because it was not state money, it was local money. The local towns and cities wanted to absorb this cost themselves.
Then they ought to be able to make that decision. Okay. Most local petitions are routine. Most home rule petitions are routine, but they are. They represent 40% of the business of the State House, and they are things as mundane as having the town meeting on a Wednesday instead of a Tuesday.
Really?
And why does that have to turn into a legislative action? I mean, but it becomes the currency of doing business up in the State House, and I do think that has to change. We took a step in this direction with a proposal we made as part of the Municipal Partnership Act last year. I'm going to file, as soon as the legislature comes back, an expanded version of that in January.